Hello friends, my name is Shivam from DevOps Schools and I will help you to enable your learning process in various technologies of DevOps, artificial intelligence, machine learning, big data and many more. This is our initiative to help you by sharing multiple tutorials and videos. And if you want any specific tutorials or any particular topic, then please do comment in the below comment section and I will help you with it. Also, please subscribe to our premium services on YouTube, which will give you access to more content and videos to enhance your knowledge about all these topics. Also, if you want me to help you with regards to the online trainings and classroom sessions by our qualified trainers, then please do write me at contact@devopsschool.com. Thank you.
So, Sri Pradhan, have you come across the term SPA before?
No.
Okay. So, it is a single page application.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. So, what is it? We'll try to understand now. And I'm not going to conduct any of AngularJS, though I'm using this slide. Okay, just look at this picture, right? So we can immediately make out that this is some online shopping site, right? We usually visit such sites on day-to-day basis. So here, if you can minutely observe, you will find out that the kids tab is pressed and the details which are seen here, those are related to the kids tab, right? Now, this is a normal scenario that we go or visit any online shopping site. Now, if I just hover my mouse from one tab to another tab, this is just a screenshot, but in actual case, when I'm just moving my mouse from one tab to another tab in the browser, what will happen? That the contents will immediately change, right? So if you right now also see, there are so many menus, so many menu items, sub menus, sub items and whatnot. So all those things are there, okay, in the same view in one page, right? And depending on the user interaction, the view is immediately changed, right? If instead of kids tab, I click on the brands, immediately brands I will be seeing all the brands which are available. Again, I can click on any of these menu items, sub menu items, and again it will show me some more details related to that particular item which is clicked. So depending on user interaction, we need to have this dynamic content generation. So these contents are changing, right, depending on the user interaction. So I can call those type of views as dynamic views. Now the question is how these dynamic views will be generated, how those are created. So what is the traditional approach? So if you have heard about Java, Spring or .NET technologies, right? Spring is nothing but Java EE. Instead of now EJB technology, Spring has taken over that, right? So those are all backend technologies, like server-side technologies, where depending on the user interaction, we generate a dynamic new view. When I'm saying dynamic view, some processing is done on the server side, and then a new view is generated on the server side, and then that is sent to the client. Now, for today's requirement, the way users, the websites are providing the data or the views, and with a small minute interaction of the user, there is a change in the content. So we are looking at this much performance. The websites, dynamic websites should be this much performant. So is it now possible with the traditional approach? When we are talking about creating this dynamic view on the server side, there are many technologies available. That is, we can use JSP, Java technology, dynamic web pages. We use JSPs. For .NET, they have web API and all, right? So accordingly, the traditional approach is generate the dynamic response on the server side and send it to the client side. But in this traditional approach, we are facing issues with the performance. The time required for the response to get rendered in the client's browser. So how much client can wait? If you consider your own case, if a particular site is taking more than suppose 30 seconds even to give you to respond, right? Then you will never visit that site again. You will explore something else, right? So right now, this is the need of the day. So generating the dynamic response is the problem at hand, we can say. And if we are generating it on the server side, then what will happen? It will take a lot of time. First, the request is to be made to the server. Then processing will happen on the server side. The dynamically means at runtime, the response will be generated and that will be sent back to the client. Once the response is available on the client side or client browser, then that view will be rendered inside the browser, right? So that is one problem that we can say, which we will be facing with when we are following traditional approach. That is rendering or generating the view on the server side, right? Now consider one more thing. Okay, we want to go with traditional approach where dynamic response will be generated on the server side. Okay, now still for each and every request, for each and every interaction of the user, the request should be made to the server. Now consider this particular website or view, right, where user is interacting with any of these items. A request should be made to the server for each and every interaction of the user. So what we need for each and every interaction of the user, we have to create a unique URL to hit the server. This is how that particular request will be identified on the server side, right? So apart from time, not only time consuming, but creating those unique URLs for these all intermediate states, it is very difficult, right? So traditional approach falls short of this kind of requirements. Server-side rendering is hard to implement for all the intermediate states. What could be those intermediate states? User click menu item X or user clicks on menu item Y, and there are hundreds of menus or menu items available, right? So mapping all those small view states to the URLs is another challenge, right? So now we are thinking of something that will generate the dynamic response on the client side. Dynamic view generation should happen on the client side now, right? Because we are facing those problems. Now we want something where the response will be generated, response or dynamic view will be generated on the client side itself, right? So when we are talking about dynamic view generation on the client side, how it is possible? Through what it is possible? We have only one thing in hand through which the dynamic view generation is possible on the client side. What is that? Can anyone guess?
JavaScript.
Ajax.
JavaScript, right? Perfect. So JavaScript is the only thing. Ajax, okay, we will talk about Ajax. Ajax is like talking to the server asynchronously. We'll come to that part later on. Definitely that is important. But how do we have the dynamic view generation on the client side? That means in the browser. Inside the browser, how the change in view can take place? It can take place through JavaScript only, right? So everyone is aware about how the view is rendered inside the browser. How a view, I'm not talking about dynamic view, I'm just talking about a static view. But how the same view is rendered inside the browser, what are the steps? Yes, Prashant or anyone? What exactly
Are you
happens? How
talking
the
Are you talking about the DOM that will be forming? I'm not sure
perfect,
what you mean.
perfect. So basically, we create HTML pages which are generating a view inside the browser, right? And HTML, if you see, we have HTML as root tag, then we have head, then we have body tag. Inside the body tag, again, we have multiple nested tags like maybe span, maybe div, and all that stuff. So those are all tags or markups, right, which are nested. This HTML page, that is hypertext markup language, right? That HTML, first browser has a parser, and that parser parses the entire document, entire page, and it creates a tree structure out of that. So those tags, those elements which are represented as a tree structure, that is possible, right? Because we are having a root tag and then we are having nested tags. So whatever entity is there that you want to show, maybe some text, whatever, you maybe one button. So whatever you want to show on or render inside the browser, that is nothing but it has a node on that tree. So whatever HTML page we are trying to open it in the browser, it creates a tree structure. That tree structure exactly represents your tags or markups, what you have used on the page. So once that tree structure is created, that is called as DOM, document object model. So that once that DOM or tree structure is created, then accordingly the view is rendered inside the browser. Now, if the view is generated in that way, how can we get a dynamic view? Dynamic view is nothing but the change in the previous view. So one particular page which is open inside the browser, a particular tree structure is attached to it. A particular tree structure, it is representing that view, right? Now, if I want to have a change in that view, what I need to do? I need to manipulate the DOM, right? So suppose I have a div where I'm saying ID equal to D1, and I want to write there as hello world. Earlier, I have written there as it is showing hi world. Now it is, I want to show it as hello world. So I want this dynamic view generation. So how it is possible inside the browser? First view, that is hi world, that is nothing but one tree structure. Now, how I can navigate through this tree structure? So what is the root of that tree? Suppose it is represented as document. So I would say document.get element by ID D1. So this is how I am traversing to that particular node. That div D1 is nothing but one child node on that tree. So we are traversing to that node and then we are manipulating that. Dot inner HTML, I would say hello world. So using JavaScript, we are actually traversing the tree structure DOM and manipulating the DOM. Once the DOM is manipulated, the view will be again rendered. This is how we are achieving dynamic view generation on the client side or inside the browser, right? So now when we are thinking of changing our traditional approach of creating the dynamic view on the server side, now we have to generate that dynamic view on the client side, that is inside the browser. And when we are shifting this approach, what we have at hand is JavaScript. So through JavaScript, we are going to achieve all this, right? So now we are thinking of rendering the view on the client side, or generating the dynamic view on the client side. Now, using JavaScript, we can write all that code. But now consider how tedious that would be. For each and every minute interaction of the user, we want to achieve one change in the view, right? So for that, if we are writing this all as JavaScript code, there will be boilerplate code, right? Because what are we doing finally? We are updating the DOM, or we are manipulating the DOM. So always traverse the tree to a particular node, make the changes there, or manipulate the tree, right? And depending on user interaction, that means there will be some buttons or some input items where user is interacting. So now we have to first catch those events, right? So if I want to just say that when user is clicking on a button, I want to say, hello, welcome. So for that, first thing, I have to write a JavaScript function where I will write document.getElementById d1.innerHTML equal to welcome. But now that function should get executed when user clicks on the button. So I have to register that handler function with the event source. That event source here is button. So how do we achieve that? We are provided with onClick, right? So onClick attribute, we will write there say welcome or whatever that function name is. So this is how all this code, we can call this code as like repetitive code or boilerplate code. Everywhere we have to write a function and we have to register that function with a particular event source. And whenever user interacts with that particular event source, when the event is generated, that function gets invoked. Again, what you are going to write inside the function? Manipulation of DOM. So this code, it becomes spaghetti type of code, nested code, and which becomes very difficult to maintain also, right? So now what should we look for? JavaScript is the only solution to render the dynamic view on the client side. But now we will look for some JavaScript frameworks. So which will abstract away all those boilerplate code from us. Registering the callbacks is nothing but event handler function that we are writing. We are registering it with the handler, with the source. So that function becomes a callback function because it gets called back automatically whenever user interacts, right? So all this code, why one should write it each and every time, right? So developers should be able to focus on the business logic, and all other redundant tasks that should be taken care by the framework. So now we need some JavaScript framework. So let us go through this. Okay, so we want the enhanced user experience, right? These are the quality requirements from any of your web applications, today's web application, right? So we are talking about enhanced user experience. How can we achieve that enhanced user experience? That is in minimum time, fraction of seconds. We want to send the response, or that page should be responsive. This is possible through a particular approach and that approach is single page applications. Now, what do we mean by single page application? I will just go back to the first slide. Okay. Now consider this. Here, as and when user clicks or hovers the mouse on one of the items, immediately the related contents change, right? So, and within fraction of seconds, this happens. So we are looking at this much performance, or in this time, the response should be generated there on the client side, right? So when we are generating the response on the server side, right, and that response is coming to the client side across the net, in that case, suppose the first page is it is showing some view, user clicks on the button, and now that request is made to the server generates a new response, dynamic response, and that response is coming over to the browser. What will happen now? That is another page. There was one HTML page first, now another HTML page which is coming as a response. Now browser will get refreshed and entire new view will be generated. If you see here, when I'm clicking, I'm just moving from one tab to another tab, the contents might change. But if it happens through browser refresh, what will happen? Whenever there is a browser refresh, the entire tree is created again. Whatever is not changing, still it will be re-rendered. And consider how much time it will take to re-render the entire page. So we don't want this browser refresh. Whenever there is a browser refresh, there is a new tree which is getting created. A new HTML page is coming from the server side, and then that is rendered. That is nothing but a new page, new DOM. This is how it will take much more time because we are re-rendering the entire view. The contents are changing somewhere here depending on the user interaction. But when the response is coming from the server, it is coming as a new HTML page. So the entire page has to be redrawn or re-rendered, and which is time consuming. So now we are using a term single page applications, where the browser will not refresh again throughout the entire life cycle of the application. There won't be new browser refresh. Only during the first request, the browser will be rendering the view. At that time, it is getting refreshed, we can say. And then throughout the application lifecycle, the browser will not get refreshed. Then if the browser is not getting refreshed, can we still have a new view inside the browser? Yes. Through JavaScript manipulation, through JavaScript, we are doing DOM manipulation and we are having the change in view. In this case, the browser is not getting refreshed. That means only that particular part of the tree is re-rendered. Only that particular node is re-rendered, right? Now, when we are saying all this manipulation should happen on the client side, now there could be some changes in the data. Now, where those changes in the data should happen or where that data should reside? Should that data also, application data should also reside on the client side in the browser or on the client side? No, the data should also always be secured on the server side. So data will reside on the server side. The dynamic views will be generated on the client side. But now when user is interacting through JavaScript, we can change the markups. We can manipulate the DOM, but the DOM has the data embedded in it, right? What if that data changes? When that data changes, we have no option but to go to the server and get that new data, right? So in this case, when the data is changing, we have to make a call to the server. But now when we are making a call to the server, it is going to take time, right? If we consider, we want that the page should be always interactive to the user. If it is not interactive, if it is held up, then client will not visit my site again, right? So user should be, for the user, the page should be responsive or interactive, right? Now, when we are talking about traditional request response scenario, how does it happen? User clicks on submit button, or user suppose types some URL in the browser and hits the enter button. What happens? A request is made to the server. Now, once the request is made to the server application will process that data, request data, and create a dynamic response. That response will be embedded in the HTML page. That data processing is done on the data. That new processed data is put in the tags, that is the new HTML page or JSP, and that is coming as response, whole response to the client. Now, in this request is made, when the request is made through the browser in standard way, till the response reaches, the browser is not interactive. So it is blocked because this request response is synchronous. What does that mean? Request is made and now browser is waiting for response to receive. Unless and until response is received on the browser side, nothing will happen. So the page is not interactive till that time. So that is what we are facing an issue, right? That is a challenge now. So how to resolve this problem? Why the browser is getting blocked, or when the browser is getting blocked? When the request is made, till the response reaches, it will be blocked because it is synchronous. Now go for asynchronous. What is asynchronous? Request is made to the server in an asynchronous way. That means browser is not waiting for the response to reach. So the page is still interactive to the user. There is some interaction of the user. A request, now it needs to fetch the data from the server. Now that request has to be made to the server because data resides on the server. Now in this case, this request will not be made synchronously. It will be made asynchronously. So still the page is interactive to the user. Now the request is made in an asynchronous way. The request, when it reaches the server, your application will process the data and create the processed data or some new set of data that is available. Now once that is generated, the new response data is generated, that should come back. Very important point here is that data will reach to the client. Now it is not embedded in any tag or any HTML. Pure data. Request is made for data. Pure data will be sent back. It is not embedded inside the HTML tags. Nothing. Right? So that data will reach. That means that response is reaching to the client. Now the browser is not waiting for that response or that data. So the page is interactive. Now when the data reaches, it is asynchronous now. When the data reaches, some event should get generated. So browser is notified that
To get our channel membership, click onto the join button, select the $399 plan and grow your skills immensely.
chunk of data is received. on the client side. Now, when that event is generated, now what you want to do with that data? So again, there will be some JavaScript function where you will embed that data, newly received data, inside the markups on the client side itself. So through this, what we are achieving? We are achieving, the first thing is we are reducing the response time. The page is always interactive, and only the part of the page where the data which is being sent, new data, now that particular part of the page should be redrawn. And how that redrawing will happen? Through JavaScript. Once the data has reached, now the tree will get manipulated. Only that part of the tree will be manipulated. So there is no entire new tree generation, and there is no browser refresh. So the applications which have the capability of redrawing the part of the view without browser refresh, those applications we call them as single page applications. The ability to redraw a part of the, re-render the part of the page, that is single page application, right? So now we are looking for single page application development, where the request will be made to the server when the data is changing. When the view is changing, it will automatically happen on the client side itself through JavaScript. So changes in view will happen through JavaScript on the client side. But when we want to change the data, embedded data is getting changed, we'll make a request asynchronously. Now data has to be sent back. Now what should be the format of that data? Now it is not same as some different JSP or some different new HTML page that you are sending. That HTML page usually embeds some data into it, right? So that entire view we are not sending. We are just passing the new process data. So even the bandwidth required for this transmission across the net is reduced. We are just passing the data. What could be the simplest form to pass this data from server side to client side across the net? Have you heard about JSON? So that is nothing but JavaScript. Yeah. So JavaScript object notation, that is nothing but key value pairs. So only data is being sent from the server, and that data will be sent in the form of JSON, and that is nothing but the key value pairs, right? So this is the simplest form. What is another format how the data can reach from the server to client or from client to server?
I'm sorry for the interruption. Ashish from
Yes.
Whispering People.
Huh.
Ma'am, I've shared the feedback link for the because today is the first day. So kindly give your feedback once the session is over. For that only I interrupted, ma'am. Sorry so much.
Okay, fine. Hold on. I need to just check that. What is it? Okay, so they have shared some feedback link. You can copy that link later on. Let us not interrupt the flow right now. So we were talking about this single page application, right? Where the data will be sent from the client to the server or from server to the client, both way, right? So in the format JSON, that is key value pairs. This is how the data will reach. I'm asking, do we know any other format in which the data can be sent from server to client?
XML?
So it can be XML also. Now the data, we are just talking about the data that is to be sent. A new data set is required on the client side to be embedded in the view. So that data is sent. Suppose that is an employee object. It has ID 1 and name is ABC. So this as a JSON object, name ABC, ID 1. So this is key value pair that will be sent. Another way, it can be sent as in XML format. So in XML, how it works? There will be a root tag employee, then there will be a nested tag ID, and its value will be 1. Then there will be another nested tag name, the value will be ABC. Now, if the data is coming as XML, we need a parser, right? And we need to check with DTD also. So if we are passing the data across the net as XML, there are more overheads involved because that XML document is again required to be parsed and then extract the data from that. But when we are talking about key value pairs or JSON, it is the simplest way. So for our single page applications, as far as possible, data transmission will happen through JSON, right? Okay, is this space okay, or am I going fast or slow? If
No,
you
it's
want
good.
me to, that's good. Okay, good. Thank you. So we are talking about this web application development, the quality requirements of that. So first thing, enhanced user experience. User is clicking on something and within fraction of seconds, the view is changing. And for that, the solution is building single page applications, right? That is our need now. Next requirement could be the application should be maintainable and it should be easily testable. So again here, what usually we follow, what architecture we usually follow so that our applications are more maintainable and more testable. Yes. What could be the solution to this requirement?
Following a pattern, design pattern.
Did you say it is MVC? Some pattern, architectural pattern we follow so that our applications are more maintainable, more extensible, and more testable. And that approach is MVC. The approach is model view controller, right? So in Angular 1.x, they followed MVC architecture entirely. Now we are going to see how Angular 2 onwards architecture is different. It is not MVC, but it is MVVM or MVW. What is the difference and why that change in architecture was required, why it was needed? We are going to see that, right? So the traditional approach, again we can say, that was MVC, that is model view controller, where we focus on separation of concerns. So if my view is changing, my model and controller layer should be intact. Separation of concerns. If the model changes, my view should be intact. So this becomes more maintainable and testable and extensible. But then now we over and above MVC, now we are talking about MVVM. We'll discuss that part later on. And then we also want that this code, this application should get developed in less time, and it should be less. It should be having less code also. Rapid development, less code. For that, whatever is the redundant code, that should be provided by some libraries, some framework. So time consumed will also be less because for the redundant tasks, the code is already written by some group, some framework. You will just include that code. Right? So the solution for this fourth and fifth is some framework. So first we thought of having it in JavaScript, means rendering the dynamic view on the client side itself. So JavaScript, that is the only option. Then we want single page applications. We want to follow certain architecture and it should be developed in less time, and development should be, or coding should be simplified. So that will be provided by some framework. So this is nothing but, at that time it was AngularJS. One important point we have not discussed about single page applications. We just talked that we want to make a request to the server in an asynchronous way, right? But how it is possible? When user clicks on the submit button, suppose there is a form, user clicks on the submit button, what happens? The request is made and now browser will wait for response to reach back. This is synchronous. How we can make a request from the browser in an asynchronous way? Again, the JavaScript. So through JavaScript, we can create an asynchronous request, and that is nothing but our Ajax. Right? So through Ajax, so that call will be Ajax call when we are making an asynchronous request. And this is possible through JavaScript only. When JavaScript was written in 91 or 92, and that time, people thought of JavaScript is like just client-side data validations. That was the only thing that was thought of for why to use JavaScript, right? But then, from in the last 10 to 11 years, I would say, the entire picture has changed. Now we have understood the power of JavaScript. Making a synchronous request, you need JavaScript. Sending data, passing the data across the net, it will have the form of, like, it is like JavaScript object, JSON. That is nothing but JavaScript object. How do you create a JavaScript object? You just write a pair of curly braces and you just write their name value pairs. That is your JavaScript object. Now you are using JSON as a format for transferring the data across the net. Now you are achieving this single page application building through JavaScript. You are rendering a new view inside the client browser, or you are having the dynamic view generation on the client side only through JavaScript. So now we are talking about JavaScript and JavaScript, right? So we don't want that browser is blocked. It is waiting for something from the client side, from the server side. No, we don't want. So we have to follow now single page application approach. I think I have discussed all this. Just read these points. If you have any query, you can ask me. The last line is important. Another full page request is never made. The browser doesn't get refreshed. Only during first page load, all the resources come to the client side when the first request is served. All the tags, all the markups will come to all the logical views which are required depending on the user interaction, right? All those markups will come to the client side in first go during the first request. When the data changes, asynchronous request. Otherwise, depending on user interaction, no request is being made to the server, but the DOM is manipulated and a part of the page is redrawn. The capability of redrawing itself, the part of the page, that is the feature of single page application. So now we are talking about separating the data from the view. When response one is one tree, suppose, okay, consider the traditional approach. Now another page, the data is processed, another entire page where the data, processed data is embedded inside a new HTML markup that is coming, and it is refreshing the browser and a new page is loaded, new DOM tree is created, and the entire view is rendered. In this case, the data is embedded inside the tags, inside the markups, right? But now when we are talking about single page applications, we are even having a separation in that data and the view or the markups. All the markups are coming to the client side during first go. If the data changes, a synchronous request, and then when that data reaches the client, it will get embedded in the new view. Only that part of the page will be redrawn. Right? So this is the comparative or comparison between traditional approach and the single page approach. Initial request is same. Server responds with some HTML. Then for subsequent requests, those will be synchronous request, and as a response, a new HTML page will be sent where the data is already embedded. So it will call for a page reload. In SPA lifecycle, for subsequent requests from the client, AJAX calls will be made and only data will be going to the client in the JSON format. So are we good with this much, or any queries are here?
Fine.
Fine. Okay. So now we will use one more term here, thin server architecture. Okay. Now earlier, the traditional approach, if you look at this, model and view is combined together as new HTML page, and that is being sent here, right? So browser, in traditional applications, the browser was thin. What was the thinnermost client? That is browser. All the code, everything is residing on the server side. The new view is created as a new HTML page and sent to the browser, and browser has to only render that new page, right? So that was the thinnermost client so far in traditional approach. But now the HTML or markups will go in during the first request, all the views, all the HTML, right? And whatever data is to be embedded, that will go to the client in subsequent requests. Now this JavaScript coding and execution, where it is going to happen? It is going to happen on the client side. Earlier it was thick server, thin client. Now it is thin server, thick client. So it is called as thin server architecture. Yeah. So now we are not going to see all those other things from AngularJS, not required. We just wanted to know what is single page application and why Angular, right?
You need us to open Visual Source Code Studio.
Visual Code. You have Visual Studio, is it? Visual Studio Code. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, you can just open it. Let us go through the slide first. What features we are going to see, and then we will have quick hands-on. They introduced a variable let, not variable, a keyword let, right? So how do we declare a variable inside JavaScript? Var. So we declare it as x, suppose var x, var y, and it becomes, it gets associated with the window or to the function. If it is associated with the function, it is local scope. It is local to the function. If it gets associated with the window, it becomes global. Only var keyword was available. Since ECMAScript 2015, they introduced one more keyword, that is let. And instead of now var x, I can declare it as let x. Now it becomes the block scoped variable. Then they have introduced const also. Const is nothing but the variable value we cannot change. Then there is a concept of class. So some of you who are from Java background, you are very much aware about and very much comfortable with classes, right? In JavaScript, we do not have that concept of class. Do we have objects inside JavaScript? Yes, we have. But objects are not created from the classes as we have that concept in Java. First, we create the template or the design, that is nothing but the class, and then we instantiate that class, and those are the objects. So that class concept was not available in JavaScript. That was introduced in ECMAScript 2015 or ECMAScript 6. Both are same, one and the same thing, right? Then arrow functions, we'll see that also. And there is one more concept, very important concept, that was introduced in ECMAScript, that was modules. And all those things are ECMAScript features. And what is TypeScript? That is a language which supports all those features. Why we will be using TypeScript for writing Angular code, we are going to see that later on, right? Our focus right now is only to understand all those different features of ECMAScript. So I will share those PPTs with you all, no issue. So no need to right now read each and every statement here. Some theory part you can just read it later on. It was a major launch and many new important features are introduced in ECMAScript 6. So as I said, let is a keyword introduced here, and if you declare a variable with let, it becomes a block scoped variable. If you want to explore more on hoisting and how it works in JavaScript, you can explore it more. But because we will not discuss about those JavaScript part. So important things from JavaScript, that is hoisting and scoping and callbacks and closures. Call, apply, bind. So these are the important things from JavaScript. If you get more time, you can explore it further. Okay. So declaring a constant was also not possible before. Now we have a keyword const, and by naming convention that should be entirely in caps. And as the name suggests, const, you cannot change the value. Okay, so actually JavaScript.
In JavaScript, you are asking?
Yes, in JavaScript. Constructor
No,
function.
Sangeeta. No.
Okay.
To get our channel membership, click onto the join button, select the 3D99 plan and grow your skills immensely.
See, if this is the function in JavaScript, okay, so I'm writing a function f1, right, and then I may go on declaring some variable here, var x, whatever, right? So whatever function we want to write here, right? or console.log, whatever, right? So this is a simple function f1, and how do we call that function? Just like this. Okay, there is another type of function, that is constructor function. The important point about the constructor function is that you should name it. It is a function. Okay, it's a function. You should declare that function with the name starting with capital letter. Suppose I want to create a function employee. I will write it like this: function emp e capital, right? and then I will declare some var id or whatever, and display a function also I can write. What is the difference between these two functions, f1 and employee? Functions are also objects in JavaScript. The first thing, functions are also objects, right? Now, when you are creating a function like this and invoking in this way, it is a standard normal function in JavaScript. But this function, this is called as constructor function, and you are supposed to invoke this function with new keyword. And those many instances of that function get created. So how to invoke this function emp? I should use in this way. So when I need multiple objects of same type, I will write a constructor function inside the JavaScript. Okay, so this function emp, it is a constructor function. Here I'm mentioning that E is capital, right? Now I can create multiple objects. Sorry. So I can write here var E1 equal to new employee, then var E2 equal to so when we want to create multiple objects of same type, then we will create it as a constructor function. Suppose I want to just write some operation for adding or multiplication. How many times we need to create that function as an object? Only one time is sufficient. Just write a function add, it takes x and y and return x plus y. So here we don't need the multiple objects. But now consider a car object. So we may require multiple car objects. Now they will have the similar attributes like model or color or price, right? In that case, we will declare it as a constructor function. So when we need multiple objects, we go for constructor function. Otherwise, we will write a simple function like this, f1. So now coming back to the slide, in JavaScript, you do not have class concept, but ECMAScript 6, it introduced class. But finally, what is getting executed inside the browser? It is JavaScript. Then this class, you are allowed to write class, okay, the class keyword. And now if you go through this slide, class rectangle, right? So class rectangle, like this we can write, but actually it gets converted into a constructor function. What browser understands is a constructor function. It doesn't understand what is class. But for developers writing code, it is convenient to write it as a class. So they introduce this feature class. Now you can create classes in JavaScript, ECMAScript. And the browsers who support that ECMAScript 6 or ECMAScript 2015, they will convert, that browser implementation will convert your class into a constructor function, right? So now again we can have static methods and all. So let us start with some coding. Finally, we will come back to this slide for modules. So I hope you have opened this Visual Code.
Yes.
So now, okay. So just create one file, whatever wherever you are creating your demos. Just have one folder, and there you can create your first .js file, maybe. So I will also create here. Create one file, right? Sample.js, suppose. Okay. Hold on. I will open another file because here everything is written. I will type in front of you. That's better. So create a file, right? Demo1.js, suppose. Okay, I created a folder. Okay, sorry. So this is our hello.js. Let us write the simplest program, console.log. Say hi, right? Or hello world, whatever. And then you can open that file in the terminal. Okay, or what we can do. Right? So how to run this file, hello.js? Node, you already have Node installed, right? So we will run this JavaScript file on the server side itself. So node hello.js. Right? So now let us use let. Okay, not this time. Let us create a class rectangle. Okay, now here, if you can see class, this is a keyword. Okay, newly added, right? Then constructor, this is again a keyword. Okay, so basically we are writing it similar to our Java or .NET code. Okay, we are writing a class, we are writing a constructor, but finally what gets executed inside the browser, it's plain JavaScript. So all this gets converted into the JavaScript syntax, and whatever class you are creating here, that actually gets converted into a constructor function, right? So are we okay with this syntax? Class rectangle and constructor height width.
Yeah.
Yeah. So can you please create it quickly? So you will become more comfortable with this syntax. So we are writing a class here, rectangle. We are also declaring one constructor, and we are declaring one method there, that is calculate area. Okay. So let me know once you are done with this, and if you have any doubt here, you can please ask me.
Hi, Sangeeta. Actually, this is JS code, only, right?
This is JS file, right?
You told that it will convert to JS, right? That class
Yes.
will be converted to constructor function.
Yes. So actually, the browser, now you are using, suppose, Chrome browser, okay, or any
Okay.
other browser. So that browser, if it supports ECMAScript feature,
Okay.
then it
Does it
can run
support?
this file.
Okay, okay.
If it
If
does
it
not
is not,
support that feature, then it will give you error.
okay, sure. Yeah. Yeah, that time we will get there. So that time you are telling, in that case, we have some converter to do it like that.
Yes, means the browser internally it has the implementation for all this. The browser,
Means if it is support ES6, that browser have this feature. That's
correct. That browser understands what is class. If it does not
you
support
are telling like
ECMAScript,
this class, class concept is behind this is what happened in where ES6 supports.
correct, correct,
Where?
correct,
Okay, yeah.
correct. When they released Angular 2, at that point, ECMAScript 6 was new. And then now ECMAScript also, it has the latest version as 11, I think.
Okay.
Yeah. But the important features which were introduced in ECMAScript 6, those are always required. Like now, all the browsers support all those features. At that time, few browsers were supporting. So I hope you are done with this assignment.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Fine. So we're getting a feel now how we work with classes in JavaScript, right? Let us create one more class. Let us create it as person. Okay. Now we are talking about the arrow functions. There is one more addition in ECMAScript. Those are arrow functions. Okay. So what is the importance of arrow functions and where they are useful, right? So we will see that now. So for that, let us quickly create one. Create a new .js file. Or maybe in the same file also I can write. I have this file, right? So I will write it here itself. So let us have this function. Okay, we are creating a person function. Suppose now again this is a constructor function. Like we want to create multiple objects of person. So I'm creating this function person where P is capital, right? Suppose let's make a function grow up maybe, where we want to increment the age. Okay, so let us write a function grow up. We are using set interval. So we are passing a function to set interval, which will get invoked after that particular time period is over, right? So we are declaring a function grow up here, and that should get executed after this time interval, maybe 1000. Correct? And what is that function grow up? We will increment the age. Yeah. So let us write here this dot age plus plus. Console.log. Just run this and check the output. For running it, before that, what you want to do? You need to create an object of person. So let us create var p1 equal to new person. Okay, so what is the problem here? Can anyone tell me why it is not showing 1, 2, 3 like that?
The data type is not defined.
What not required? Can you repeat?
Data type, it couldn't find. Maybe we are doing
No.
operation
The
string plus
the scope age is not available.
it's
Scope. The
It's
problem is with the scope.
yeah,
Is it that?
like
Yeah, correct. Yes. The problem here is we are using this dot h, right? Now, this dot h here, is it the same as this dot h here?
no.
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 In JavaScript, every function inside the function, it is having its own this. That is the scope of that function. This refers to that function, right? Now, this is an inner function, function grow. So when we are creating a new function, it will have its own this. So for grow function, do we have anything declared as age? No. This dot age is declared for the person function. That is not declared for grow function. Grow functions this is different than person this, person functions this. Are we getting that? That is why I am not getting the expected output. So what is a workaround for this in JavaScript? We want to refer to the outer functions this. Here person is the outer function, grow up is an inner function. Inner function can access the variables of outer function. Okay, but this, the problem is created by this. This inside the grow up function refers to the grow up. This inside person refers to the person. Right? So what we want to do, we want to refer to this of person into grow up. So store that this. So by convention, we should store the this of outer inside that. So create a variable that, where that equal to this. Now that variable declared inside the person, okay, is it accessible in the group? It is accessible because it is a variable declared in the outer function. So that is available. But that is actually referring to the this of person. So how should I write it now? Let us run it. Now we are getting the output, expected output. So observe the scope and the scope of this. So in JavaScript, it is very important to understand this. It is a little complex than how we use this in our object-oriented languages. Little different. When we are using a constructor function and we are creating the objects using new keyword, when you are creating a constructor function, you must invoke that function along with new keyword. So when you are doing that, or you are creating the constructor functions objects, this points to that particular object only in that case. If it is a simple function, function f1, this belongs to that function itself. Now that function, if it is associated with the window, this points to the window. So reference of this, where it is referring to, it changes according to the context.
To get our channel membership, click onto the join button, select the 3D99 plan and grow your skills immensely.
Right? So we need to be very careful when we are using this. And another issue with JavaScript could be, we don't get any errors. Means whatever output we expect, unless and until we run the code, we don't know what is happening or whether it is correct or wrong. Right? Now, what is the role of arrow functions here? Why those were introduced in ECMAScript? So, doing all this workaround, what is the exact problem here? We are writing an inner function. Inner function will have its own this, and it is different than outer function this. Arrow functions are functions which we are writing as inner functions, but they do not have their own this. So inside the arrow function, if we are referring to age, suppose I write this function grow up as an arrow function now. I can directly write h plus plus and it refers to the outer functions. This arrow function does not have its own this, right? So now let us write it as an arrow function. So here, should I make the changes here itself? What are arrow functions? Those will be anonymous. Okay. Now we don't require this, all that and all, right? Whatever. It is saying age is not defined because I have not written this dot age, right? Okay. Why can I use this here and it works? Because arrow function will not have its own this. Any function, okay, let us just get accustomed with the syntax for arrow function. Okay, now consider this function f1. Okay, so usually how do we write? So normal function writing, we use the keyword function, then we give some name, then if there are certain parameters we want to pass, input parameters, we pass it there. If not, just round brackets, a pair of round brackets, and then curly braces, that is nothing but the function body, right? And if we want to return something, we will write it. If we don't want to write it, that is still fine, right? So this is how we usually write or declare a function, right? Now, what are arrow functions? When I am writing a function, is it really necessary to write this keyword function? Can I remove it? Okay, I will not write that. I will not use that. Do I really require the name? I may not require, right? Then, do I need input parameters? Yes. If that function is supposed to work on those input parameters, those must be passed, right? And if I do not, if that function does not take any parameters, then that will be just a pair of round brackets. So that is required. Whatever is required, we'll keep it, right? So this is the input parameters if required, otherwise blank. Pair of round brackets. What is the, how we are going to write the function body? Curly braces, right? So write the curly braces here. Okay, I will write it in here. Here I have taken the and for body we will take a pair of curly braces. So this is the function body and these are the function parameters. We don't need name, trim it down. We don't need keyword function, remove it, right? Now we just want to separate out these two pairs of braces, one curly brace pair and one round brackets. To separate them out, we will use an arrow. And this is my function. So it becomes so concise and compact, right? And important point to note here is arrow function will not carry its own this. Your syntax become more concise. When you require a name to the function, when you call it multiple times, but when you are not calling it multiple times, you don't require a name. Then write an arrow function like this, right? So we okay with arrow function? We will have one more demo. We'll create it. I hope this is working for you also, right? Any queries here? Let us quickly create one more. Sorry. Yeah. Okay, I think it's just 3 minutes left and you have to fill up that feedback also. Are we okay with this, whatever we have done so far? No doubts, right? No queries? Yeah. Okay, thank you. Yeah. So I think we will start with more on arrow functions tomorrow. Okay. And then TypeScript. And then tomorrow we will also create one simple project in Angular CLI.
Okay.
So we are done for the day.
Our channel membership. If you would have any issues with our channel membership, you can drop an email to us at contact@devopsschool.com, or you can also unsubscribe from channel membership anytime if you don't want to continue or did not like the video. To get our channel membership, click onto the join button, select the 3D99 plan and grow your skills immensely. Please be kind enough to like it and you can comment any of your doubts and queries. We will reply to them at the earliest. Thanks for watching.